know, America, we talk about North Korea often. North Korea is a hellhole because the people there are treated worse than animals. The head of the state, Un, is the grandson of the Stalinist leader who was installed by Joseph Stalin. Those people are really treated probably worse than any other people on the face of the earth. I can remember the time when the now deceased Secretary of Defense, Rumsfeld, once showed to the American people on his computer screen or on a map at night North Korea and South Korea. North Korea was totally black and South Korea was lit up with electricity. Now, Yeonmi Park has written an unbelievable book. She's a North Korean defector. And her book is called While Time Remains, A North Korean Defector's Search for Freedom in America. It's my bad because I've wanted to have her on this program, and in a month or so, she doesn't know this yet, I'd like to have her on my TV show as well. Yeonmi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored.
It's my honor. Let's take this step by step. Tell us where you were born, how you escaped, and how you came to America.
Yeah, so I was born in the northern part of North Korea in 1993, and that's really when the North Korea's greatest famine began. And growing up in North Korea, really seeing dead bodies on the streets were like seeing trees. People were dying from malnutrition, and the regime used the malnutrition to control the people. Eventually, when I was 13 years old, I grew up surviving North Korea, eating grasshoppers, dragonflies, and plants, and we couldn't even find that. So I escaped North Korea when I was 13 years old in 2007 into China.
Mm-hmm. Then what?
As soon as I crossed the Yalu River into China, the first thing that happened to me was my mother being raped in front of me. And then we heard that they were going to set us like livestock because of Chinese one-child policy they had. China had like millions of women they were lacking. Therefore, they were selling North Korean women like me and my mother as a sex slaves to Chinese men. And that's how my mother was sold for $65, and they sold me for over $20 as a child virgin.
So your mom was raped. You were molested too, I guess.
Yeah, and then raped eventually, of course, yeah.
Then how did you get out of China, or can you not tell us?
Yeah, so I lived there as a sex slavery of this man for 2 years. During 2 years, I was able to find my mother back, and we eventually met missionaries from South Korea. They were risking their lives and rescuing North Korean women like us, and they told us there was a way out and to be free. And we asked them, how do we do that? And they said we had to go South Korea. And because we didn't have any passport and we were fugitives, they said we had to walk across the frozen Gobi Desert in minus 40 degrees. So I crossed the Gobi Desert with my mother and some other people when I was 15 years old in 2009, and that's how I became free.
Wow. And you have a warning in this book to the American people. First of all, you came to America. Where in America did you... It says all in your book, by the way. You came to America. Where in America did you go?
I came to America very first time to Tyler, Texas, to study Bible. But then I had to go back to Korea, and the second time when I came to America, that was in New York City to study at Columbia University.
Mm-hmm. The book, by the way, is While Time Remains, A North Korean Defector's Search for Freedom in America. It's a very, very important book. It's on all my social sites right now. You can get it at Amazon.com. I would encourage you to do that. Sooner the better. So you go to Colombia, and you go there probably eyes wide open. You're very excited. And what happened in Colombia?
Yeah, so, I mean, going to Columbia University was beyond what I could ever comprehend. It was beyond dream. I was excited to go to a place where I could learn how to think. But the very first day I got there, I literally couldn't believe what was happening. The things that professors were teaching us, the indoctrination, was actually worse than North Korean classrooms. They were saying identical things that my North Korean teachers taught me to brainwash me in North Korean classroom. For example, professors at Columbia told me that all the problems that we have in the world right now is because of greedy capitalism and because of white men. And the only solution for all these problems is a dismantling American system, tearing down the Constitution, and rebuild the nation, our country, in the name of equity, equality of outcomes. The same idea that drove North Korea into what it is today.
This is even though it's not surprising, it's still unconscionable. It's still repulsive. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's crucially important to listen to people who have suffered under the foot of Marxism and tyranny, because we're headed in that direction. And you have people who've contributed absolutely nothing to the well-being of this country, to your liberty, who are trying to destroy it. These are people who have benefited from this society. So when somebody comes along like Yeonmi Park, a refugee from North Korea, who was eating bugs and grass and plants, escapes to China with her mother where they are brutalized, has to get back into South Korea and then gets to the United States, and then shows up, gets accepted into Columbia, and says from day one, oh my God, look what they're teaching here. They're teaching to hate their own country. They're promoting Marxism. They're attacking, quote-unquote, white people, talking about having to unravel what's going on in here in America. We need to listen to this person. And the book is While Time Remains, a North Korean defector's search for freedom in America. So I'd like to ask you, how long were you at Columbia?
I was there for 4 years doing my bachelor degree.
For 4 years, and pretty much one class to another, it was the same kind of propaganda, or am I wrong?
Yes, it was literally across all the, areas of studies. It was all same kind of narrative where everything that was wrong with the Western civilization and how everybody else is oppressed and how we are all victims of this kind of oppression.
Mm-hmm. At the hands of the white dominant society, is that correct?
Right, and one day I was so struck by one example where my professors were saying how exams are oppressive, how math is racist. And it was the same thing that my teacher told me when I was in North Korea. She one day asked me, what is 1 + 1? And I said 2, and she said it's wrong. My dear leader Kim Jong-il discovered that when he was a child, adding 1 drop of water to another drop of water, it becomes bigger one. It does not become 2. And that's how he proved math was made up by white men to control the minorities.
So in other words, go ahead. Mm-hmm. I apologize. Go ahead.
No. So it's exactly the same thing where even math is being questioned. There's no more truth anymore. Everything is subjective.
So to control the mind, they control the language and the thought process, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the obsession on the things that we can say and what we are not allowed to say at Columbia, where we have amendments, we have our constitution to support our freedom of speech. However, at Columbia University, they say something called this safe space. And because of these trigger warnings that professors give to us, that we are not allowed to say many things that, so therefore there's no way of free way of exchanging ideas on campuses.
So there's not really academic freedom. There's not intellectual curiosity and debate. It's more indoctrination. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a indoctrination camp. It's exactly like North Korean education system. It's a system where it brainwash you and take your individual faculties and take the ability to critical thinking. So once you go to Colombia, you have to join this groupthink. Otherwise, you're bigot and racist, and they're going to kick you out from the university. And whenever I was trying to question my professors, and when they said there's no difference between men and women, and even I can become a woman, I asked, like, professor, that's not true. And what she said was, you are brainwashed, to me, to challenging her narrative. So it's the idea that they're teaching me how to think is a lie. They literally tell you what to think.
Now, did they know where you came from? Did they know your background?
I tried to explain to them multiple occasions, and every single time they said that I am brainwashed. And also right before the class, they send out these emails where that we are trying to have a safe space, therefore we cannot talk about these things that is triggering to other students. So there's many topics that was already off the table before even we start the class.
Yeah, because when I went to college, you could challenge the professor, you could challenge the books, you could challenge each other. It was part of the process, and you're saying that's not at all how it works at Columbia now.
Yeah, not at all. It's all about the emotional safety. It's all about try not to trigger anybody. And I was really confused. I'm coming from the part of the world that things are not safe physically. But what at Columbia is all about protecting your feelings. The feelings dominate every classroom. It dominates the logic and facts and truth. The most important thing is how you feel. And, and my classmates would tell me they're oppressed. And I don't make them feel safe because I was not able to incorporate their pronouns in my English sentences very well. Because I just learned English and came here. And their oppression was that I was not able to, generously applying all these pronouns in my sentences.
Not to offend, I just want to get a perspective here. What is your age?
I am 29 years old now.
Mm-hmm. So you're 29 years old now. You've looked back on this, and since your book has come out, has anybody in the administration at Columbia or any of the professors tried to contact you?
No, surprisingly, nobody. But however, I've been reached out by a lot of alumni on LinkedIn, and so many of them have been reaching out, and that's how they felt. But because where they are, they have corporate jobs, and they said they cannot speak out, and they couldn't speak out, and they were sending me a lot of private support. And however, they said, of course, they understand why they couldn't also speak out at the time.
Now, when you were there as a student, were there other students who tried to speak out, or were they talking to you saying, I'm afraid to speak out, or were they all of the hard left, or what?
So this is where I get really chills. Like in North Korea, because spies are everywhere, the first thing my mom told me as a young girl was, don't even whisper because the birds and mice could hear me. If I said one thing wrong, it was going to kill up to 8 generations of my family, something called the collective guilt. And
he was going to kill you and 8 generations.
Yes, because of the one-person crime. There's something called the collective guilt. And we do that too in America now. I have a son who is half white. They call him that he's privileged, and he has a white guilt. And he's punished for his ancestors' crimes, for something that he never done. So America is becoming like North Korea every day. But at Columbia, nobody really told me their actual genuine feelings because a lot of them were afraid to be kicked out or be marked as a racist. So I really did not know anybody who thought like me at the time. And that's what is sad about it, because of the fear that we all felt, that we are no longer being honest with each other and having discussions about how we actually felt.
I've always said on the radio that colleges and universities are the last vestiges of Stalinism in the United States, although they're not the last vestiges anymore. But is that how, it sounds like you felt this was Stalinism, North Korea styled.
Yes, 100%. In some sense, it's worse because in North Korea, of course, this groupthink where, the elite, North Korean elite, the party decides what is the truth. And exactly in America, this small class of the ruling elite in big cities like New York, San Francisco, LA, they just decide what is woman, what is the truth. But in some sense, it's about obsession on sexuality in children and obsession on getting rid of women and men. And these ideas hasn't affected North Korea. So in some sense, I think West or current America went even further than what North Korea went with the truth.
That's amazing. Because at least in North Korea, you're saying they know a man from a woman and they don't debate it.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't believe that was the biggest contention. Like, I had to fight for that men and women are different. In North Korea, that's a common sense.
I feel so bad for the people in North Korea. The way that they're treated, the way that they're starved. They don't get to live like human beings, do they?
No, they don't even know the word love because regime oppressed us that much. They even took the concept of love and liberty and human rights from us.
And I assume they've destroyed the nuclear family. They've destroyed the idea of a husband and a wife and children and so forth.
Yeah, they said that our only existence is to become a good revolutionary for the party, for the Communist Party. And the first thing my teacher told me was that my father, my biological father, was not important. I had to report on him if he's done something suspicious. My teacher told me the most important father that I had was my spiritual father, which was my dear leader. So families are forced to report on each other. Friends, we don't have word of friends. We only have word of comrade. When you're a comrade, it's a different thing than being friends. So even being a human is being denied in North Korea.
When you hear politicians in America or the head of a teachers union say parents should not be involved in the education of their children, or that's a decision that teachers should make, in other words, that the state should make, does that cause you to cringe?
It's the exact same tactic that every dictatorship played, separating children from their parents, indoctrinate them and radicalize them. And even the Chinese Cultural Revolution, those kids were denouncing their professors and their parents. So I think that's what's happening. It's almost like dictator's handbook. They are following those exact steps that other dictators follow. And America is cutting those stages and eventually become like North Korea.
And it's not a coincidence, is it? We have people, our professors like at Columbia and so forth, who are literally indoctrinating people to think like this. No?
Yeah. It's really heartbreaking because in North Korea, we have to believe this to survive. Otherwise, there's a gun pointing to our head. In some sense, in America, they are choosing their own suicide voluntarily. Nobody putting a gun to their head. They're choosing to commit a suicide as a civilization. And that's what's remarkable to me, that collectively, they just decide to go mad and destroy their country. It is the best country in human history, and they are determined to destroy this country in the name of, I don't even know what.
Listen, I want to thank you. We're out of time. You were absolutely fantastic. I'm going to bring you on my Fox show as well to have this discussion. You're very courageous. What you've been through is horrific. And God bless you for being in America. Take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. I have read a lot of your books, so thank you for everything you do for liberty and America.
Aren't you kind? Thank you. Take care of yourself. The book is While Time Remains, a North Korean Defector Search for Freedom in America. You can get it at Amazon.com, any one of my social platforms as well.